What is the true engine to financial success? It's your mindset, your discipline, your willingness to learn, and your attitude. These are measurements that'll help you to move from where you are currently to true financial success. And today we're sharing some practical tips to help you make a mindset shift and some actionable tips to move you from your current situation to financial abundance. Let's go ahead and get to it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Success Spectrum Podcast. I'm your host, Kadeem McLean, and today we're talking about the heartbeat of financial success. What is it? It's your mindset. Because your attitude, your discipline, and your willingness to learn will really determine whether or not you reach this financial goal you have, the financial success you're seeking. And I talk about it more in chapter 2 of my book, Wings of Abundance. And what will this proper mindset do? Well, it'll help you to stay focused on your goals. It'll help you to stay motivated during challenges. And it'll help you to adapt and grow when things get tough. Oftentimes when we face challenges without the right mindset, we might not buck back. We might just take the challenge and say, oh, well, I'm not able to do it because the challenge came my way. He or she who thinks she can and she who thinks she can't are both usually right. Confucius. So if you have the mindset to say, I'm not able to do this thing, or I can't do this thing, then yeah, you're probably not going to be able to. But with the right mindset, when you see things a certain way, you can now make the adjustments and grow and continue to go after those goals that you have. So just like your heartbeat keeps your body functioning, your financial heartbeat, your financial mindset, right? Because this is the heartbeat of financial success. Your mindset towards finances will keep your visions and goals alive for the financial side of it. So just like your heartbeat keeps your body functioning, your financial mindset will keep your financial goals alive. It'll keep you driving towards that direction, that aim, that destination you're aiming towards for financial success, right? Whatever you deem that to be. With the right mindset, you can continue on that path. Even when challenges, roadblocks, bumps, walls come your way, you will break through it, you'll find a way around it or over it, and you'll keep going. But without that mindset, you reach a dead end, you're probably going to turn around and go back the other way, back to where you came from. And where you came from, for a lot of us, it's probably not where you want to be. You want to continue driving down that road to get to your destination. So again, how do we do that? Because challenges will come, roadblocks will come, bumps, speed bumps will come, potholes will come. What do? We adapt, we change, we go around, we find a way through or around that object. And without the right mindset, you're not going to do that. But with the right mindset, equipped with the right tools, you can make it to that destination. And I mentioned with the right tools. I feel like here we got to talk about the mindset versus the mechanics real quick, because a lot of us might have tools. A lot of us have a cell phone. So of course we have the tools, but your mindset is what determines whether or not you actually utilize these tools. We all have a budget sheet. You either bought one or you have one, or you can create one, or again, on your phone, you have these budgeting apps. Even a lot of the banking apps, they have budgeting tools in there, but we're not using it. Why? Because again, our mindset is off, right? Whatever budget you use, fine. But you have to use it. Having the tool is one thing, but using the tool is a whole other thing. And that's where you get the benefits of the tool, because you're using it. And how often you use it, of course, is another piece of the conversation. What do we need to utilize or have, I guess, internally to be able to utilize these tools and to do it regularly? You need a level of discipline. And in order to have that discipline essentially equals financial control. I know people have a bad connotation when it comes to the word discipline, but really in this sense, it's just a sense of financial control, right? Financial self-control. And without that control, your money's controlling you, you're not controlling it. And that's a scary situation to be in. So it's time for you to grab hold of your finances, to take control of it and stop being controlled by it. Because when you're controlled by it, you're just spending as you see fit. It's like you got a hole in your pocket, because as soon as money comes in, you put it in your pocket, it's gone. You don't know where it went, because you're not really taking a look at your budget. You don't really have the proper mindset towards finances, and you're not planning for each dollar. So that financial discipline, it helps you to stay aligned with your goals and keep on track and avoid unnecessary spending. Without knowing where your money is really going, again, you're going to have these emergency situations pop up. But if you don't know where your money's going, guess what you're going to have to do when that emergency situation pops up? You don't have an emergency fund, so you're going to swipe that credit card, that MasterCard. And that puts you into a hole, because now you're just digging a hole of debt for yourself, as opposed to having an emergency fund set aside. When you do take a look at your finances and you are disciplined, you have the right mindset, you're going to put money aside, whether it's $2,000, whether it's $3,000, $1,500, whatever the case is. But you have to look at these things, right? They typically say 3 to 6 months of expenses, 8 to 12 months of expenses. That's what you want to put aside for your emergency fund. Everybody's different, and those numbers I question nowadays, but sit with your professional or reach out to me and we can kind of discuss that to see what makes sense for you. But when it comes to your emergency fund, what is that? Right now, taking a look at your bank account, if you were to have an emergency come up where it's going to cost you $2,000, how are you going to fund that emergency? Do you have money put aside in an emergency fund for you to be able to fund that emergency? Are you going to have to borrow money from a friend, right? Phone a friend? Are you going to have to take money out of your investments to fund that emergency? Are you going to have to swipe that credit card like I said earlier? How are you funding that emergency? Depending on your answer, you know whether or not you have the right financial mindset, because if you do have the financial mindset, the answer is automatic. I'm going to use my emergency fund to pay for that. No questions asked. That's what I have it there for. But the point is, when you have the right mindset and you put money where it needs to go, aka that emergency fund, then you don't flinch. That $2,000 emergency is not going to phase you because you have the right money put aside where it needs to be to fund this emergency, which is going to come up, right? And where you save that emergency, again, that's another conversation, but I would argue not under your mattress, but that's another conversation. In order to really get that emergency fund going, you may have to, again, people don't like this phrase, but you may have to delay gratification. And yes, instant gratification is nice because we get that immediate dopamine hit, right? We feel immediate good feelings, if you will. You know, that new car smell. Right? You get a new phone, new technology. You get to unwrap it in the whole 9 yards. That is fleeting. It does not last very long. And so oftentimes people will chase it and they'll continue to buy new things, new items, go on and new experiences in the whole 9 yards. And ultimately, it's all very fleeting, which is why you need it so often, right? So it sounds good, it feels good, but ultimately it's very expensive, if you will, because again, we're chasing this instant gratification, spending money we don't need to, oftentimes money we don't have to get things we don't need to please people who don't really care for us, really, right? And so it's a weird process, if you will. It's a weird circle of life, if you will, right? And the whole point is, stop feeding into that instant gratification and practice delayed gratification. Because although delayed gratification doesn't sound as sexy, doesn't sound as sweet, doesn't sound or feel as nice, on the back end, you're going to say, oh, okay, this does feel good, because you're going to have more assets than you do liabilities. And when you practice instant gratification and you're constantly going after that dopamine hit, you are just building up liabilities. You buy something, and as soon as you use it, it brings down the value of it. It's not paying you anything. It's not increasing in value. But when you put things aside and you practice delayed gratification, now you're putting money into investments, things that can pay you back. You're putting money into a business that you're growing. You're putting money into some type of venture, financial venture, where it's going to pay you back. And here's the thing about that. Delayed gratification is not, I can never get these things that I want. It's just not right now. Because if you decide, you know what, 10% of my paycheck is for me, you're practicing delayed gratification, because now you're not going to randomly go out and spend $2,000 on an item. You're going to make sure you've saved up enough of those 10% each paycheck to get that $2,000 item. That's delayed gratification, right? And so every paycheck you get, say you make, I don't know, $4,000 every month. So you're going to save $400 every month until you reach that $2,000 to now go purchase that item. And guess what? Technology typically becomes cheaper as time goes on. So as time passes, technology becomes cheaper. So whatever it is you're trying to purchase, for the most part, it's probably going to become cheaper. So you're going to save more and get the same exact item if you were to wait a little bit, as opposed to getting it right away. Plus, it didn't affect you. It didn't hurt you in any way financially, because you saved 10% every paycheck. The other 90 is going where it needs to go. But that 10% for you, it's being saved up instead of just taking your whole paycheck to go buy that $4,000 or $2,000 item. So again, instant gratification is not never. I can never get this thing. No, it's just not right now. There's something else that goes along with instant gratification. And honestly, It's the silent wealth killer. And I believe I first heard Wall Street Trapper say this, and it's lifestyle inflation. Lifestyle inflation. What is lifestyle inflation, Kadeem? Well, lifestyle inflation is what a lot of you practice. And again, I'm not trying to take shots, but a lot of us, I'll include myself in there. I used to do this, but a lot of us practice lifestyle inflation. Lifestyle inflation is when you make you get a pay increase. Say you make an extra $1,000. Guess what you do? You increase your lifestyle by $1,000. So instead of just putting out, a portion of that every paycheck and then saving or investing the rest, you're taking the $1,000 increase and you're increasing your lifestyle by $1,000 every month. That is not helping anybody. That is keeping you stuck where you are. Do you want to stay stuck where you are? I'm assuming you don't. That's one of the reasons probably why you're listening to this, but you don't want to stay stuck where you are. So what can you do? Instead of taking that $1,000 and putting it towards, your lifestyle and practicing lifestyle inflation, take a portion of that money for yourself. Again, your 10%, and take the rest and put it somewhere to help bring your goals closer to you. You got a goal of saving $250,000, $250,000. That's going to help you get there faster, instead of taking that $1,000 and spending it on lifestyle. And again, I talk about a lot of these things in my book. So if you don't have it yet, or you haven't read it yet, go ahead and pick this up, because there are tips in here that I'm not going to talk about on here per se, but you can go ahead and pick up that book. Quick read for you, but you're going to get some financial insight if, again, you have the right mindset to continue learning and growing and adapting to actually practice what is in there. There's a free budgeting tool you can get in there and the whole 9 yards, because that budgeting tool will help you to avoid this thing called lifestyle inflation, the silent wealth killer. We don't often realize it's happening because it's just natural. You get a pay increase. Okay, great. I'm going to go out to more events. I'm going to go to more concerts. I'm going to go out to eat more often. I'm going to get the more expensive items now in these grocery stores, as opposed to what I was getting before. And these little decisions each time is going to help you to spend that $1,000, right? That extra $1,000. But if we practice, we budget, we keep track of our money, we'll know, no, I'm only supposed to increase it by $100, and the other $900 is going to go towards this thing. So discipline is required. And when you practice that discipline and you avoid this thing called lifestyle inflation, the silent wealth killer, it will help you to, again, shift your mindset and lead to faster progress towards those long-term goals that you have. Do you have a child in your life who loves to color? A niece, a nephew, a son, a daughter, a neighbor? Remember when we grew up, we did A for apple, B for banana, and so on? There's something new in town. It's going to change generations financially. It's called Money Magic, ABC. This is a financial coloring book. They get fun pictures to draw, to color in. But instead of A for apple, we got A for asset. We got B for budget. We got C for crowdfunding. This is going to, while they're enjoying themselves, teach them the financial terms that we didn't know growing up. The financial terms that some of us still don't know. Financial literacy is key and vital. And instead of learning A for apple, learning A for asset at such a young age, it's going to change their financial mindset into the future. They'll be able to start off ahead of the ball, right? Ahead of the game. So go ahead and get yourself a copy and give this gift. Give the gift of financial literacy to your children and the children in your life today. Go ahead and click that link in the description and get yourself a copy. Why is all of this so important? Because wealth is a moving target. And this ties into our third piece, which is, again, continuing to learn and grow and adapt. Because if you just stay stuck where you are, when you get new information, you're not going to utilize it. I'm not saying taking all the information in the world, because there's too much information to take in. There's different opinions about finances and the whole 9 yards. Take what works for you. That's what matters most. What works for you? I'm not saying discard everything, because you need to take something, but take what does work for you and run with it. Be consistent in it, be disciplined in it, do it regularly, have the right mindset and attitude towards it, and of course, continue to learn and adapt when new information comes your way that is also beneficial for you. Because wealth is a moving target, it requires you to continue learning and growing and adapting to stay up to date about financial tools, trends, and strategies. I always find it so interesting that when we talk about budget, and excuse my language, because again, a lot of people see budget as a cuss word, so forgive me. When we talk about budget, a lot of people think to themselves, and you may have had the thought already when I say the word, I don't need to do a budget. I did a budget. Okay, great. When was the last time you did a budget? Yeah, when was the last time you updated it? And how often do you do a budget? If you just did it recently, when's the next time you plan to do it? Because Again, I always say this, big corporations, big companies, they do a budget regularly, not inconsistently, but consistently, regularly, right? Every week, every month, every quarter, depending on the person, depending on the company, but generally speaking, quarterly financial assessments, big companies, right? Big corporations. As individuals now, keep track of your money, because if you don't keep track of your money, out of sight, out of mind, you don't know what's happening to your dollars. You don't know where they're going. You don't know the leaks that you have in your pocket, or like the last video or last podcast, you don't know what leaks you have in your boat. And when you don't know what leaks are in your boat and you try to sail out to sea, you're going to have you're going to sink. There's holes in your boat. And if you're not going to sink, you're going to realize late, and it's going to throw you off track, because now you got to bail all the water out of your boat and then patch the hole while you're on the water. It's a difficult thing to do. But if you look at the boat beforehand, then you patch it up and you're good to sail. So again, don't be afraid to look at your budget, to do a budget regularly, because at the end of the day, that's going to help you, not harm you. What's 30 minutes for your financial future? 30 minutes every week, 30 minutes every month? That's nothing. Even if it were to take you an hour, that's perfectly fine, because that's for your financial future. The future you will thank you for it. The current you is probably upset a little bit about doing it. That's fine, but do it anyway. And then the future you, when you look back and say, you know what, I'm thankful I did that. I'm so grateful I did that. So I'm saying all of this to help you realize that we need to have a sense of financial humility, right? Don't think you're above a budget, because you're not. Just do a budget. Stop complaining about it. Stop crying about it. Do the budget, and then get it, and just stay consistent with it, and know where your dollars are going. And don't lie to yourself. Know where your dollars are going. If you're spending $300 on clothes every single month, or $200 on clothes every single month, because you feel like you got to have new outfits every time, we got to take a look at that thing. Why are we spending that? That could be put somewhere else. That could be put somewhere that can actually give you assets. That could be put towards the emergency fund that you don't have, which you know you need. That could be put in a lot of different areas, as opposed to buying clothes, which is not helping you. Dopamine hit. Instant gratification. Stop doing it. I wrote a book for you, and it's called Wings of Abundance, your strategic guide to uplift and empower you to financial overflow. What this book talks about is, one thing I like to talk about is the financial map. There's 2 points on any map. One is where you are, and the next one is where you want to go. This book, this strategic guide, will help you to determine where you are and where you want to go, and will also help you to bridge the gap. We talk about money mindset. We talk about the application of all the information that you know about finances, and all the information that's in this book for you. There's resources in the back of the book. There's bonus information in there. We talk about how to overcome debt, how to build wealth, generational wealth. There's so many different strategies in here that you can utilize for yourself to get you to where you want to be financially. So again, if this is something that sounds interesting to you or anybody you know, because it's written in a language that even teenagers could read it, go ahead and click that link in the description and get yourself a copy. But again, that takes a willingness to learn, and a willingness to learn which keeps you flexible, keeps you adaptable, smart, and wealthy. And if you don't want to make those shifts that I'm talking about, then you don't have a willingness to learn. It's that simple. Because here's the thing about that. Many people think that when they get more income, when they get more money, whether they're growing a business, whether they're building their career, whatever the case might be, then they will start to practice more financial discipline. I'm going to tell you, it's not going to happen that way. Because whatever you're doing now is just going to be scaled up. It's going to be scaled up. Hence lifestyle inflation. That's why we talked about it, because as you scale up in your income, you are going to continue scaling up in your spending to continue living the lifestyle that you're living. And that is not going to help you. You got to start where you are right now, doing with what you have. Because if you start where you are, you're not flexing those muscles, or rather building those muscles, and you're working them. You're tearing those muscles little by little, to the point where when you get to that financial pedestal, let's call it, that you want to be on, then you've already practiced these things. It's already second nature for you to say, okay, 10% goes here, 20% goes there, 70% there. And if you only try to practice that once you get to this pinnacle, you're not going to practice it. It's going to be difficult, because you're already going to build up a lifestyle for yourself where you already have $5,000 of expenses, because you didn't keep expenses low as you were building, because you never paid attention to your money. So just a fair warning there. And this last part here, it's a piece that is very, very important, and it kind of hits home for me, ironically, no pun intended, but we're talking about changing the financial conversations inside of the home. And I feel oftentimes it's more so fear factors, right? In some of the communities that I belong to, it's fear factors is what we use, right? Save your money, right? Avoid debt, and keep good credit. Okay. How do we do those things? Saving money, yes, it's important. Absolutely, 1000%. Again, that emergency fund, that's savings. But again, that's a defensive tactic. And it is needed, but it is a defensive tactic. It's not the only thing that's needed. There's more to it. Investing, that's offensive. And any sports that you play or are familiar with, you need defense and you need offense. Defense to stop the other team from scoring, offense so that you can, get some to rack up the score, if you will. And a lot of us need to rack up the score in our lives, rack up the income in our lives, the investments, the growth, the assets in our lives, because the assets are what really matter. Defense is important. Without it, you will not win a game. But you need offense as well, because if you only have defense and you stop the other team from scoring, you keep them at zero. Guess what? You're both at zero. You need offense to put some points on the board. So again, changing the conversation in the home, we got to talk about how to save, where to save, how to invest, where to invest, and what investing really is. Right? Talk about it in a positive manner. Share some of your experiences financially with your children, with your siblings, or whatever the case might be, because even as siblings, you don't really want to talk about finances. And it's so unfortunate because there's so much wisdom to be had there. So let's not necessarily talk about the wickedness of finances and the negative things that have happened, but let's talk about the wisdom of finances, and let's share that with one another in the home so that we can help each other elevate. A rising tide is supposed to raise all boats, but it doesn't oftentimes because we're not sharing that information with one another or those experiences with one another. So let your family grow up with financial wisdom instead of just financial warnings. So to recap, mindset is the heartbeat of financial success. Discipline and delayed gratification protect your progress. Don't let lifestyle inflation, a silent wealth killer, cancel out your income. Keep learning, stay humble, and practice talking about money at home. So my challenge to you is to think about one purchase, and you can drop it in the comments. I'm always open to hearing it, but think about one purchase that you can delay today, this week, this month, or this quarter to help move you closer to your financial goals. Drop it in the comments, share it with us so we can kind of have that conversation as a community. And I appreciate you for stopping by. Share this out with somebody who needs it, because again, they may not hear this information, this content. They may not hear about this book unless you share it with them. All right. So thanks for stopping by. Kadeem here, and I'll see you in the next one.